Kentaro Miura created an unfinished masterpiece that pushed the boundaries of what was possible within the medium.
But this ain't it.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we highlight and discuss new series each week. Today we are going to be talking about a one-shot, a short story from Kentaro Miura called Giganto Maxia, which means that my name today is Josh Questionable Nectar Michaels, and I am joined by
Mehgan Maxia Perrine.
All right. Thank you for tuning into another episode. Like I said, today, this is going to be a challenging episode. This is going to be maybe one of our most controversial episodes. We're going to try to handle it as gracefully as possible, but we are human. There might be some things that we say. Maybe I only say that more specifically. There may be some things that I say that might not necessarily be the right thing to say, but we're going to try to handle it as best we can.
Best we can, based off of just a gradual knowledge that we've stumbled upon. Not necessarily meaning that we weren't at all not aware. But
Right.
Going into this, reading this, it kind of makes some things brought to light a little bit more than it was before. We're kind of a little bit more enlightened on the situation because of, someone had brought it to our attention and we were like, no, this was because of this. But after reading this, it is like a type of conversation that we wanted to bring up because it is so prevalent in this.
Yeah, and the internet isn't always the best place for rational conversations or discourse, but we're going to try our best, and hopefully if you'd like to be a part of the conversation in the comments down below, you can show the same level of respect and just make the comment section a place where we can kind of talk about this and not attack each other or people. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about here, and I think the way that we've decided to talk about it is to talk about the series first, and then we'll get into some of the other more controversial points. I also want to be very clear and say that Kentaro Miura, rest in peace. He is and was a extremely talented artist and extremely talented storyteller, and this is in no way, we don't want this in any way to feel like we're disrespecting anyone,
Slandering,
who is unfortunately no longer with us. However, this is again just something that we couldn't talk about this series and not talk about this other topic that felt far more disingenuous, and it wouldn't feel right to me to just talk about the series and not talk about all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
But real quick, some housekeeping stuff. You're going to want to stay tuned to the end of the episode after this, heavy conversation, because we're going to be talking about some changes that we're going to be making to the channel moving forward. Some different things that we're going to be doing. One of those things being a Volume 1 Community Live, which is a show that hopefully, you watching and listening, members of our community will be able to help make together. It's going to be a live that we want to start doing either every week or probably every other week, reacting to talking about things that you suggest that we react or talk about. And you can do that by posting articles or any news that's anime and manga related in our Discord under the tab community live. The first one's going to be June 15th. So mark your calendars. You're not going to want to miss it. But stay tuned to the end of the episode to hear more of the logic, and more about the changes that we're going to be making going forward. With all that said, Giganto Maxia. So if you guys don't know anything about this series, I didn't know anything about the series. Again, it was published in 2013 by Kentaro Miura. It was published during a Berserk hiatus. around I think, and I could be wrong about this, but it was around Falconia, I believe. But yeah, Mehgan, in place of Volume 1, Chan, can you read the synopsis to anybody who knows nothing about this series, please?
Yes. So, the story is set 100 million years ago in the future after an event called the Great Destruction. Colossal bug-like monsters roam the wastelands, used by the Empire of Olympus in their epic war against Alcyonius and his nether forces. The gladiator Delos, the mystic Prome, and the titan Gora are tasked to end the bloodshed and heal the planet. Now, based off of the synopsis, this sounds very interesting. My expectations going in were, of course, this is Kentaro Miura. How could it be bad?
Yeah, I also want to say that sentence just reminded me. I also want to say that we did not plan for this episode to be this at all. Because of our new kind of structure that we're implementing, we wanted to cover a series that is technically complete, a short series. There is just one volume. There are only 7 chapters of this series. So we thought we'd cover something short. We thought we'd cover something that had a beginning and an end. And when we discovered that the one and only Kentaro Miura of Berserk fame, who we love, had done a 1-volume one-shot, we thought, yeah, we're just going to read this, react to this. It'll be awesome. Little did we know what it would turn into.
Honestly and truly. And I think that's it's a great way to talk about subjects like this. Because like you said in the beginning, like it would have been a disjustice entirely if we, kind of glossed over it or, didn't really talk about it just because of everything else that's kind of embroiled with it. It felt kind of wrong, and also it is a pretty prevalent part of this as an ongoing joke, which kind of felt heavy-handed, especially in the beginning, but I thought that was the end of it. Funny joke, haha, we get it over with, shtick, whatever you call it, and then just continued to happen. And it just, it felt very heavy-handed, and going into it, I really was shocked at how not only that, but how little I genuinely cared for any of these characters. I know it is a one-shot. I've read one-shots before where I felt very connected to the characters. I've read chapters where I felt very connected to the characters.
Same.
So going into this, I really genuinely thought it was going to be this awesome, flushed out story because Kentaro Miura is known for his storytelling. Kentaro Miura is known for his art, and a testament to the art. I really enjoyed it. I thought the characters looked cool. I thought, the setting was cool, but it didn't really give me anything other than that, to be honest. And I was surprised at just the product, I guess. And again, to the art, it was awesome. Of course, the things were drawn were a little questionable, but everything else I liked, except for even the dialogue choices or even the characters themselves. I just didn't really buy it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, again, not knowing what to expect going into this, in terms of the art, I did enjoy the art. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge fan of Miura's art. I think, again, he is one of the most talented people to ever grace the medium of manga with his pen. He's a very talented artist, but I had, I had some, issues, I guess, with the art at times. There was, Berserk has a lot going. There's a lot going on in Berserk. There are scenes where there's a lot happening, but especially when we see scenes of like the God Hand or these other, realms. There's abstract. There are crazy creatures. And I enjoy it in Berserk, but and again, maybe it was because of the story, I found myself enjoying it, not necessarily the art less, but the art feeling like it was very overstimulating to the point that it felt really even hard to, I had to take my time reading this because every panel felt like it was kind of jam-packed and there was a lot happening. And again, that led or fed into the feeling of like overstimulation and just like an overall, I guess, like anxiety that I felt like as I was reading it, like that I wasn't seeing everything that I,
or wasn't like grasping it the way I should have. But
Right.
then I just kind of realized like, no, this is like how I just feel about it in general. And again, this isn't Berserk. We know that. We went in knowing that it wasn't going to be because it is only one volume. There's no way it could have been even, remotely to the same level because it is just like this fantastical, story of, multiple volumes, multiple arcs, multiple character developments. Like Josh knew going in, it wouldn't be Berserk. So that's not the issue. The expectations for his work were high just because everything he puts out is high because of the work that he does. But overall, it wasn't, just, okay, well, this isn't Berserk, so I don't like it. No, it was things in it that I found myself just not enjoying.
Yeah, and in terms of the character designs too, this felt a lot like Attack on Titan meets Terraformers in a lot of ways, and the actual main characters, they're the girl that we meet whose name is either Prome or Prom, but I think Prome. Her design is she had a very cool design, and there were some other creatures that had some cool designs. I didn't really find myself super connected to or really a huge fan of our main character Delos's design. And again, there are concepts here that are interesting. There are concepts here that Berserk felt so fleshed out. Berserk felt so elegant. It felt so nuanced, and this doesn't feel fleshed out, and at times, because of the nature of it being a short story, it does feel like it's trying to get a lot, give you a lot of information or do a lot at once. So I don't fault it necessarily for that. And again, there are interesting concepts that kind of come across a little corny, and a little like they're fun. They're very fun. Essentially, it's what if in a post-apocalyptic world, it's like, like I said, Attack on Titan, meets Terraformers meets the WWE. It is like, what if these in a post-apocalyptic world, these Titans, one of them was a wrestler.
Yeah, it's like if they make a live action that's going to be, The Rock and like Dakota Fanning.
Was like John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena, totally. Yeah. But we wouldn't want to see this made in live action.
I don't think it would ever be made.
It would not be made in live action at all, and
not for the mainstream.
No, oh least. God. I totally agree. I mean, it was interesting. I liked how it was like, this art of wrestling was lost. Thousands of years later, it is, come back.
I think they said like hundreds of thousands or hundreds of like, or maybe 100 million, or it was set in a very, 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 very distant future.
I do have like one highlight that was like, oh wow, like this is cool. This is what I wanted to see. This is what I wish was brought sooner. And other couple things, maybe could have got less screen or page time than this. This moment was, I think, what it was all building up for. But it did feel like just everything else was kind of added at, the one idea of just this moment, and then everything else was kind of like jammed in there. That's what it felt.
Yeah, and in terms of the actual character, so I feel like I've covered character design and maybe concepts, and in terms of like characters, their personalities, their motivations. Again, there was a lot left to be desired. I felt like the main character was endearing, but almost like generically endearing. I feel like, I just really found myself not really enjoying much about outside of the art, maybe much about what I was reading.
Yeah, me, like I've stated before, like my favorite type of story, or what I like sometimes in a story, is like a duo. Like a duo that shouldn't be working together or, in the same place, but they are. Oftentimes like a kid, or like even in Hell's Paradise, we have, that little girl with the guy, and like they fight together, and like that was awesome. That was done so well. I do like that dynamic a lot. Just like this duo doing these things. But in this, it did feel like it was a duo for a specific reason and not for anything else until that moment. And then you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's why this is happening. That's it. The questions are answered. But
yeah. I mean, I feel like, we can probably talk about this series and sum it up very, very quickly and very easily. Essentially, it is, again, about Delos and Prome. Delos being this like bulkier, stockier guy, Prome being this young little girl. And the series kind of opens with her. And again, when this happened in the very beginning, I went back, and I'm not joking. I went back and I reread this probably 5-6 times because I was like, there's no way I'm reading this right. Like, but we meet them in the way that we meet them is we meet them in a desert, and Prome is on Delos's shoulders, and she's wearing a dress with presumably nothing underneath it, and she's telling him basically like it's okay to look up, like
if it makes you feel better.
Yeah, like this almost defending her being up there. Like, I can see better from up here. I feel like this is maybe even good exercise for you. And if you would all get discouraged, you can kind of just look up at my you-know-what and find motivation to keep moving. And he comments on like being dehydrated because they're in the desert, to which she responds, and I quote, "I could always give you some of my nectar."
That's a huge thing. That's a major plot point in this story. The nectar is very important to the story.
Some nectar, and because of my current position, it will rain down on your head. It's coming. You know where it's coming. And at first, I didn't know if nectar was a joke, like she's literally gonna pee on him.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought she was being cheeky.
Yes.
I thought she was being cheeky, or like, I'm standing on your shoulders. Like, it'd be funny if I was pissed on you, right?
Yeah,
like,
hilarious.
hilarious.
I don't know this character yet. Yeah,
hilarious. But you get the sense that this isn't like I was like, okay, it's over, like it's done with, and then it just kept.
Yeah, at first, like I kept reading it over and over and over because again, it does seem like it's being played for a joke.
Yeah,
it does seem like it's a gag. That again, if that was the gag, I would have thought was funny.
And for an example that I think of right off the bat, I mean, it isn't exactly the same, but in, Miss Kobayashi, she's trying to always get her to eat her tail because it has like healing properties and it'll make her back hurt less and it'll help her. And she's always trying to force it down. And Kobayashi's like, no, I'm not going to eat your fucking tail. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, there's something kind of weird about you continuously trying to get me to
eat your tail. And in this, it's different. And I can't, getting ahead of it, I understand that this is like, she's a spiritual being and this is the way that she can heal people. But we then get told that she can heal people by kissing them instead of pissing in their mouths.
Well,
see, that is the thing. And even he's like, why didn't you just do this from the start? And she was more embarrassed about kissing this fool on his wounds than like giving him her fucking nectar. That was a thing that was like completely.
And I don't know if nectar is the official translation, but it's the translation that I read, and just calling it a nectar too is something like there's something crazy about it. But yeah, I mean, we do find out that, and it does seem that she can, because, she is possibly a spiritual being. I do think she also might be a being that the people of this world have considered a spiritual being, but could be some form.
It's left up to interpretation.
Could be some sort of creature, race, group of people that has evolved to be able to do things beyond other people's understanding. So they call them gods or whatever.
They call them like the Ka or something. And again, like official translations. Tribes. Yeah. So
but it seems like, she can redistribute where this nectar comes from. There was another, because it can come out of her mouth. She can make it come out of her mouth. She can make it come out of her, what? It seems like she can assign its evacuation ports. But essentially they're in the desert and they come across like this clan, this tribe, this group of bug people. They're basically half bug, half human. They've kind of evolved to adapt to the desert and to
where they live for like their where they plant their crops. It is in like this huge like nest of like bug. I don't know, but that's how they've probably been living there for a long time. evolution, yada yada yada. They've just become part bug.
Yeah. Immediately, we're taken to this like Coliseum where Delos, our main character, is basically put in a gladiator match with these people's hero, their strongest warrior. They have a fight that turns basically into a wrestling match, and literally Delos like suplexes him. Again, at this point in the story, I'm not completely out.
I agree. And I totally agree. Because I even I was drawing them. I was like, these guys look so cute. Yeah. I love this type of duo. Even that part was weird, but I doubt it'll come up again. Maybe it will, but not as abrupt, maybe.
Or it won't be as significant as...
Yeah. And again, it is just, I was like, oh, that was funny, to pee, and then it's like, no, but this is my healing, and I was like, okay, well, whatever. And then I mentioned before that comes out later. But even the wrestling thing, I wasn't completely out. I was like, this is kind of like a cool thing. It is kind of random, but at least it's kind of entertaining. And
it's a funny, like I said, concept. It's an interesting concept for this, lost form of martial arts to be practiced in a, again, post-apocalyptic futuristic world. I thought was interesting, a little funny, yes. But also that's kind of what I love about the medium of manga is they can have these like sort of absurd kind of concepts set in these like absurd settings, but make them unique and fun and fresh and new. And I was like, this is unique, fun, and fresh and new. The fight, was good. And, like I said, it ended in a wrestling match that Delos wins. Mm-hmm. And by winning this match, Delos has basically gained the respect because we find out that he is from a more human, what we know to be humans. He is from a tribe of those people that the bug people hate because at a certain point in history, his people killed a bunch of their people, brutally, killed them. So he sort of gained their respect by defeating their warrior and is sent to some quarters to heal. This is where again the pee, the nectar, comes back into play.
In a big way.
Yeah.
I mean, they get sent to this place and he, I believe, he needs to heal his wounds from the fight because he did get a little roughed up. And she's very insistent on being able to heal him in the way that she wants to.
And the whole time she's also speaking in a way that you would make you assume that she isn't normal.
She's talking in third person. She's like, Delos, if Delos were to die, then it would be bad. Prome has the opportunity to do this.
I will not, sacrifice my directive, she's talking in these kind of terms. If Delos's life is actually in danger, I will not forfeit my main directive and will, you know what I mean?
Kind of like robotic, kind of, kind of spiritual thing that has no concept of how humans communicate with each other. So she's pretty much doing that. And then we get a full pretty much page spread of her spreading her legs and opening up her skirt, and pretty much we don't see it, but she puts the nectar on him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm healed. That was awesome." She's kind of like, "Yeah,
and it never completely. He does not like it.
No,
that is but again, and we're going to get there, which is why we're going to get through this, recap or recounting of the events as quickly as possible. But he doesn't, it's not that he loves it. It's not that he likes it.
No, it is a kind of a necessity thing. And he's like, yeah, well, just thank you. But she pushes it way more than he does. Yeah. And again, this is kind of the time when we realize, which was also talking about the beetle.
Right. The beetle that she heals.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Anyway, she kisses this beetle on its ear or something,
on
and
its
then
horn, on its snout.
horn, and then it grows.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, interesting.
Oh, and you're saying it looked a little phallic.
A little.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
You know what's kind of funny?
And then she proceeds to, kiss everyone. She's kissing babies, she's kissing old men.
Yeah.
She's like, helping him out. She's being a good Samaritan because they realize she can heal things. And he's like, you could kiss all along. Like, why are you peeing on me then? And she kind of just like gives like a really like sussy like look. Like she's like wants to do that. It is insinuated a lot, and I don't know if I was the only one that saw that shit, but I was funny. Like, because I even had like, I don't want to talk about it any more than I have to.
Yeah, it was like it did. I guess look a little phallic, and there was some sort of like liquid. It looked like it looked moist.
I don't know, guys. Maybe just with everything that's happened.
To kind of make your point in that moment, it reminded me of a hentai that I had seen. And again, not that there's anything, wrong with,
the one that you've seen.
No. Not that there's anything wrong with, diving into a good old fashioned hentai from time to time. But I was shown this by like a friend who thought it was like funny. And the premise.
Funny.
Yeah, when you have a friend who's like,
dude, I want to show you this porn because it's
like
hilarious. And they just want to show you.
They're just running it by you.
Yeah. And then if you're like, dude, this is kind of hot, then they'll be like, dude, I know, right? And then you'll be like, this isn't funny at all. This is the hottest shit I've ever seen. They're like, I know. But if you're like, dude, this is fucking hilarious. This is disgusting.
Like, I know it's fucking hilarious, right?
Yeah.
I watched this and laugh for hours.
We've all been in that situation.
Yeah. But the premise was basically that these robotic kind of girls they were repair people, and they had this like pendant. So like let's just say a microwave was broken, you'd call them over. They had this like pendant that they would like lay onto the microwave or put onto the microwave. Whatever they put this pendant, whatever broken piece of equipment they would put this pendant on, it would cause that thing to grow a dick, basically.
Anything?
Yeah.
A microwave?
Yeah, I mean literally. Like they were like car repairmen, I think. And and then they would do whatever they would clock in basically.
Clock.
Yeah, they would cock in. And once once they had completed their duty. Their job, the thing would be fixed, and
that is hilarious.
The pendant would be taken off.
That is hilarious.
So to kind of, I guess, like to help make your point, although I didn't necessarily piece it together, it immediately reminded me of that hentai. Immediately, that beetle scene immediately reminded me of that.
And again, I could be reading way into it, but tell me
what
you think.
You are.
Tell me what you think. Tell me, comment below if you got any vibes, because just
I don't think you're reading into it at all, because as you're saying it, I am like, oh, like I am seeing it very clearly now. But again, just to get through it. So yeah, a bunch of people come in. She's healing people, and they're taken to go see these, I guess the leaders of this group, and they notice a giant that is asleep there, that is kind of like has fused with the earth, and this giant is referred to by the people of this tribe as a god who has allowed the desert to be a place that they can inhabit.
Yes. Like an oasis. They're able to like plant things there and stuff.
Yeah, like creating greenery and things like that. It's there that they have this like kind of dialogue about like, why he's there, or that they've been spying on them for a couple of days, to which Prome says like, well, if you've been spying on us for a couple of days, then you know what else is coming. We find out that the humans are coming with their Titan to basically reclaim the giant that they believe to be their god, and destroy them in their village in the process.
Yes.
So Delos decides to stay and help them fight. He, I can't remember exactly at first whether or not he is adamant about. I think he tells them like, well, you should take the women and children and you should have them flee. But they say there's no point because they are going to find everywhere that we're at, and they want to exterminate us. They want to kind of wipe us completely out. And we've kind of had this thing about Delos from the fight that he had, the gladiator fight that he had. that the reason he is a wrestler, the reason he trained in the lost arts of wrestling is because he was forced to fight in these gladiator matches where he would have to kill his opponent. But by putting them out of commission in this sort of way, it would mean that they would both get to survive.
They would both get to survive, and also, like, you know, it is like a show. People are wanting to watch people perform, you know, kill each other. So this way it was more like theatrical, and it was more of a performance, so that maybe he could get away with not killing them, just like, you know, knocking them out, doing these crazy moves to make it seem like it's, worse than it is.
Love that.
Which is awesome. Yeah, and I loved like the monsters, I guess, that were in the arena. Like there was like the leopard person, and then there was like a goat man. Like that was all sick.
But again, and I say that because it's going to come into play later. He does not like killing people, even if he's told by other people that he has to, or that these people that he's killing are bad people. Basically, these humans show up with their Titan. They go into battle. The
octopi, the freaking elefante octopi. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, again, it's like that cosmic horror type of looking creature that Miura's great at doing. And essentially, we find out here that the relationship between Delos and Prome is that Prome is some sort of, whether spiritual being or just highly advanced, either highly evolved like creature, or I do feel like maybe she might even be robotic in some way, or have some sort of technology that is just far beyond what people in this time can perceive. But she basically encloses herself and Delos in this ball, starts spouting a lot of jargon about what she's manipulating and what she's changing.
Which was probably the highlight for me. That was like the sickest part. He got like super suited. I mean, and then she was like like a robot, like explaining what she's doing. Like, you know, this is a 10%. Well, this is putting these up and putting these down and putting these up. Like that was like the coolest part, seeing that transformation, being like, oh, and even like the look of him.
Yeah, he emerges like the armored Titan, basically.
He totally does. And she's like in the middle of his forehead, like all tiny, like in his like head. And I think he did like definitely grow bigger. So
no, he's a giant.
Yeah, he's a giant.
He's the size of their Titan. Like, and they call them Titans. Like he's the size of their Titan.
So she's just like in his forehead, like
you know, she basically says that he is still conscious, that it is still him, that it is still Delos. They can tweak things, they can turn things up, they can turn things down, but that it is still, for all intents and purposes, him. So he defeats their Titan by, again, doing a wrestling move. He like suplexes him once, and then I think shoots far into the sky and does like another. I was never like the biggest fan of wrestling, so I don't know all the moves, but he does do another wrestling move from like the sky all the way down, like the pile driver or something. And again, this is where the concept started to feel like it had like maybe like reached it had started to push, I think, what it was doing a little too much. And it did start to feel super corny to me. It started to feel super corny to me. It was still cool, and there was this like element of campiness to it that I did like, that I was like, oh, this, but I also felt more so like this is hilarious, and I like it because it's hilarious, but I don't like it because it's like badass or like it's cool, which is what I felt like it was supposed to be. But I was like, this is hilarious. This is like B movie. Like I like it because it's bad kind of feeling that I had when you just see these two, like, again, Titans, but also like they look like they are monsters. They're mutilated. They're, you know, reminiscent of these creatures similar to like the God Hand. They're all just like, you know, mutated. But then they're just wrestling. You know, but he defeats him, and then the bug people basically say like, okay, well, now that you helped us defeat them, we're gonna
kill them,
humans.
Yeah, we're gonna kill them all.
And he's like, please don't,
please don't, on his hands and knees. You know, don't do that. And then they just like list off everything that they've done,
which
to
is
them,
some pretty terrible things.
Which is terrible things. And I was like, yeah, maybe you should just like let them kill them. I mean, just like they came here for a fight, give them a fight, you know. And he's like, no, you know, we shouldn't, like, Don't kill them.
And there's a reason, and I don't hate the reason, but you can't also either blame them for wanting to do that. But so Prome pretty much makes him a deal and says that the Titan, the giant that she killed,
she shirkes them.
Yeah, she'll basically plant it and allow for even more fields to grow, and that she will wipe their memory because they also are afraid of them knowing their location, that they'll come back and fight them or try to kill them all over again. She's like, I'll erase their memory and I'll plant this giant here who will give you more abundant greenery to live off of for centuries if you choose not to fight them.
Yeah, there's two choices. Hang on to the grudges of the past or the revelation of the future. And they choose the future.
Yeah, they choose the future, which again, like, I was like, okay. I mean, that's not really much of a, I mean, it seems like kind of like an obvious choice. I mean, if you're wiping their memory.
Yeah, it's like literally the best deal they've ever gotten,
like the
ever.
best deal ever. Like, it would be crazy if she was like, yeah, they're going to, I'll send them away and you'll have this, this utopia or this like, perfect place. Mm-hmm. But they might come back one day.
Yeah.
That would have been more of like fuck, like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, I'd be more conflicted. But here she's like, I'll basically
give you everything you want.
Yeah, I'll basically make this perfect for you.
And there was definitely like Shirke Guts vibes of her being inside his head and like talking to him while he's fighting, and all the damage that he took, he's actually taken to himself.
Yeah.
And the telekinesis, talking to everyone at the same time.
Yeah. I guess you're right.
I mean, that was the only, like, literally the only comparison. I do not want to compare this
That's
to
what I mean.
Berserk.
I had such a hard time.
I don't want to compare
it to Berserk.
And it is interesting reading something that's not Berserk from Miura. That's the thing too. I mean,
and I want to talk about that too. Like, how I feel like, to me personally, this was a miss, but how someone, because it's not like this was after Berserk. I mean,
or before,
because obviously the situation. It's not like it was before. This was during Berserk, and after he wrote this, he continued to, and it wasn't even like when he went back to Berserk after this that Berserk got worse. Like, this is before like some awesome shit happened in Berserk. Some amazing, some highlights of the entire series happened. So it's not like he was like off his game. It's just like I don't know. He wanted to tell the story that I don't think like resonated with everybody as much as it resonated with him, or he didn't get to execute properly. I don't know. I don't know how busy he was. I mean, he was on hiatus. And even in the last chapter, there was a note that said, like, this is the last chapter of this, but Berserk's coming back, and Rickert and Erica are in Falconia, and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, obviously the bug people choose not to pursue them, not to kill them. And that's kind of where everything is left. And we basically find out that Delos and Prome have this agreement. The agreement is basically that she will help him to defeat these monsters, because I am not 100% clear on why she wants them defeated, but he basically wants to repopulate the earth, not himself, but he wants to see a world full of life, and
she wants to, this is like her she's inside her purpose, to drive biological diversification and promote symbiosis with humanity, with all of these creatures. So It's not like everyone isn't on the same page, like it used to be. I mean, there wasn't like humanoid, demi-humans, but, like with animals and stuff, everyone kind of lived in this
some sense
cycle,
of harmony.
Cycle harmony. Yeah. So that's like their two purposes, I guess.
Yeah. And their quest is like they want to go all over this barren post-apocalyptic wasteland and do their best to, do that, basically, to create a more peaceful, symbiotic world to allow life to flourish more. But we get one more. That's kind of the end of the main story. But then we get one more like bonus chapter.
One more nectar call.
Yeah, just in case you hadn't had enough nectar, you get a little bit more. And this is where it got far more questionable and far more just and I think this is going to be Mehgan's point. But it just the question that was just on my mind was why?
Why? I mean, why? I mean, I get, okay, it's like, why? And then you could probably give me an answer. Oh, because of this in this story, because this reason, this is the reason, this is all sound. And it's like, but why?
In a world where you can do anything.
In a world where you can do anything, draw anything, it's up to your imagination. You have no you have no limits to what you could do. Why is this the choice that you'd like to make now?
Yeah, and let's see if we can gracefully navigate this. We'll see. But essentially in this bonus chapter, they are in a new location and they're, helping another, group of people, or trying to help. I think that it ends in a lot of casualties, but we basically see the aftermath of them trying to help in another situation. And then they go on to set up camp in this cave where Delos again is feeling fatigued and dehydrated. So she provides him with this this water skin of liquid that heals him.
He doesn't ask. He doesn't ask what it is. I mean, he's hungry. That's what he's hungry. He needs food.
He's hungry too, yeah. And because it's a barren wasteland, there's not a lot of animals.
Yeah, he's like, damn, I'm so hungry. She's like, eat this. And he goes, okay. Not like she's been trying to, get this nectar down throughout the whole fucking thing. And he drinks it and he's like, wait a minute.
He's like, I feel amazing.
I feel great. What did you give me?
Yeah.
It's like, of course she gave you the nectar, dude. Of course.
Yeah.
What'd you think she had in her back pocket?
Yeah.
She's been saving up every time you stop. Every time you stop on your list.
To save up. I think she's full of nectar.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think she's made of nectar.
Yeah, I need to stop for a nectar break really quick.
Yeah.
Need to fill up again.
Yeah, and basically we see that he drinks it a couple times and then she refills it, and that's when he notices like, oh, okay, I know what this is now. It's your nectar, and he's kind of like, I don't know if he's grossed out, but he's like, why? And then we see something that we didn't spend a lot of time with these characters and wouldn't have maybe necessarily picked up on it, but we're let in on that she is starting to look younger and younger and younger and younger. And he even recalls when he first met her that she looked like a young woman, like a young adult. But now she is regressing. This goes on for a couple pages, and she says that she's basically controlling the amount of output that she is energy that she is using. So she realizes that as I guess Delos maybe gets stronger, or she doesn't need to use as much of her power, she can sort of every day kind of dial it back a little bit because she doesn't need to have all this power, or that by giving him her nectar, she is regressing in age. To the point, and this continues to the point where by the end, she is literally a baby with a pacifier in her mouth, talking some goo goo gaga shit. Like she's against the rock, and she's like, she's like, my nectar, I prefer this form. Delos put Promate on his back, please. Yeah. And all I'm saying is he's still drinking this creature's nectar. Okay. Yeah.
Oh shit.
And then he's like, so
goo goo gaga shit. Like what? Like what?
He's like, well, can't you like
shit
not maybe be a baby? And she's like, I prefer this form.
Isn't there something like a virginity? Like
about
yeah.
And she says like, because she's still like on his shoulders, walking the way she walks, which again you do kind of see and understand to be. You understand the reason to be that it's because when they are in this mech form or Titan form, like
that's what I'm saying. There's an explanation for everything. That's the problem. Because at the surface level, I mean, we can even talk about something that's not related to this, maybe a little bit later, but something that we watched, and we were like, this is not okay. This is not good. This is a storyline that is on the surface with some glitter and some sparkles. That's so cute, romantic.
Oh yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Yeah,
but it's if you take out all of that, it isn't that at all, and it is bad. And this is kind of that situation. It was funny, like, oh, that's so cute, like she's regressing in age, kind of like a Nezuko situation, like oh, Nezuko gets smaller, and then like now she has tits, like it's like but it's
and that's the thing again. When it's complicated, it's a nuanced conversation, but again, you can look to other examples in other series like Demon Demon Slayer Nezuko, and I think it's done like Tanjiro's not drinking Nezuko's nectar when she's a little,
or she's giving it to other people when
chibi form. Now you can say that Zenitsu is still obsessed with her, when
but they're the
in,
same age.
Yeah,
but he still is looking at her like because she's usually that small most of the time.
It is just that again, when we talk about the things we're going to talk about, there's a lot of gray area, and a lot of it will come down to. There are things that are right and there are things that are wrong, and then there are things that are gray. And I think a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to depend on your moral compass specifically. Personally. Which might be different, but I don't think dude, I mean, we live in such a fucking crazy time where everybody wants to be on fucking sides. Like,
or everyone wants to be right.
Everyone wants to be right. Everything is so divisive, and every side attacks the other side, and there's no, again, room for any sort of discourse. So, you cannot agree. It's totally fine to not agree with some of the things that we're going to say or some of the things that we're going to talk about. But let's just have a conversation. Again, there are things that we probably will talk about that I think are very clearly not right. That are wrong. But when we get more specific, or when we get into a deeper conversation, a deeper level of the conversation, it's going to require a little more nuance and a little, again, a little more guidance from your own moral compass. So, I guess where we start now is with how this all came about. So again, this wasn't our intention making this video. We did not go into this video with this intention.
I mean, we had no idea that this would bring up this conversation. Again, we talked about it at the top. We legitimately thought this was going to be something that we both really enjoyed.
For sure.
Just from, Kentaro Miura. Of course, the first thing I wrote was expectations. What do you expect? And I was like, greatness, of course.
Yeah.
And I just obviously expectations, yes, but expectations because it is, generally always good stuff. Yeah.
So I just want to say we did a live not too long ago, celebrating the life of Kentaro Miura and celebrating the work, his work, specifically the work that we were celebrating was Berserk.
And also we were reviewing a one shot that his good friend and also a former manga, or not former, but mangaka, wrote about him and is going to continue to write about him, just like stories between the two of them and their lives together. This was live.
Yeah. So during this live, we received comments in our chat from somebody. I believe they're, I don't think, maybe it's not important to say their name.
I don't remember.
Just because, I don't know. If anybody sees them commenting somewhere else, and then I don't know. Maybe it's not important. But they were, pretty aggressively stating over and over in the live, how could you guys, be celebrating this person? How could you be celebrating, their work, their life, when they are a known P word for the sake of, and there might be some sensitive topics covered or talked about, discussed. How he's a known P word. At the time of the live, I said, which was true, I didn't want to act like I didn't see these comments.
Because they were pretty, it was like a conversation happening when we were doing the live, because it was such a crazy statement to throw out. I mean, to me at the time, I was like, what do you even mean? What are you talking about? And everyone else was kind of putting in their piece. And you had said,
and I basically said, which was true, that I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about Berserk, talk about Kentaro Miura, specifically this one shot that his friend wrote in memory of him. Look back on Berserk and how it affected me and how it affected others. And most of the calls that we took and conversations we had were all surrounding Berserk. However, this person was talking about some other things that Miura had wrote that were apparently very questionable things. I ended up saying, I'm not going to talk about it because I'm also not informed, and I don't want to talk on anything that I'm not informed on. Anyway, cut to basically afterwards doing more research. There was something else that I was doing research for, preparing for, that was, I guess, kind of around a similar topic. And because I was already looking into this other person and this other thing, I was reminded to, check out and see what this person had said to see if it had any validity. This was way before, even the idea of covering this series had come to mind. What I found from that, from the cursory research, from the initial research that I did, was basically that there were, at the time, I guess I would call them, rumors that Kentaro Miura was a diehard lolicon who not only was a lolicon himself, but advocated and fought for lolicons and their I guess interests. Now, again, we're going to try to be very delicate about this and come at it as best we can. Inherently, when it comes to lolicons, the idea there is, it's a nuanced conversation. We've talked about it in other episodes. We talked about it with the whole lolicon community seeming to sexualize Anya from Spy Family. But that is morally how you feel about lolicons is completely up to you. At the end of the day, by definition, a lolicon has not committed any crime by definition of being a lolicon. And however, it's still something I can't say I agree with or think is healthy. But again, that is me and my understanding of it. But I didn't mean to cut you off.
Pretty much it is like the definition of liking. Again, it is a very umbrella topic because there are so many definitions of like what a lolly is. A lolly could be, your standard, she looks 10, but she's actually 10,000 years old. It could be just the body type of a girl that is older, that does have, flat chest or is shorter or has like the physique of a younger person. It could be, like I looked up today, like it could be you're like attracted to the cuteness factor, rather than actually sexualizing, which I could see because, Kana, is a prime example. Like Kana is so adorable, so cute. When I first started watching Dragon Maid, I was like, how adorable is this freaking character? Yeah. She's so amazing. And, of course, liking this character for what it is, like, I see this character as a child type of character, even though she's like, a dragon, she's older than what she looks, whatever. And then, cut to me going to, Anime Expo. And seeing, a life-size, body pillows, we all have them. I have a Kyo one.
We all have them.
I have a Kyo one. I have a Yuri one. I have a, what other ones do I have? Anyway, they're just decorations. They're so cute.
You have a Sue one, I think.
Yeah, I do. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's a lot.
But they're cool, and they're not necessarily like the smexy ones, they have the front where they're wearing clothes, the back where they're wearing no clothes whatsoever. And I remember like going to Anime Expo and seeing this like life-size, pillowcase of Kana laying down, just, whatever, with her school backpack, and which is elementary school backpack. And then the back was her, opened up with no shirt, no pants. Right. And I was just like,
and just to clarify, the ones that you have are the I would call the more tasteful ones. Like yours,
they're not
the body pillows that you have are clothed on, I think, both sides.
It's like their character face and the name of the anime, and then on the front it is just the anime character in their costume. Yeah. So I have a king one too, and they're not the they're not the ones where they're like looking like this and
Yeah,
they're all
yeah.
like, and then the back they're like completely naked. I don't have any of those, but I just saw this and I was just like kind of reminded, because I consistently talk about it, but like just the lolicon, like I guess community in anime and manga, it is, you know, accepted because things like this exist. Because if it, you know, it's not like in the West where you have a character like, you know, Dora the Explorer or any other small girl child characters in a cartoon. You have to go out of your way to find merchandise or make your own.
And it would be bootleg. It would be not official.
Exactly. But you have, you know, more or less sometimes you see characters that are young of age that are having promoted licensed merchandise for these types of things in, you know, bikinis and sexualizing school swimsuits, things like that. And I just kind of, you know, brought me back like, oh yeah, like this is a huge thing. And it goes past just liking them because they're cute. If you're getting a body pillow with Kana, you know, ripped open, clothes everywhere, you're not getting it because of the cuteness. You're getting it because of the attraction. And I don't know how much of that is just, it's funny because it's a character that's drawn and it's not a real little girl. It's a fake little girl and she's this age and she's not that age.
Let me just, again, like being a lolicon, I guess is technically not a crime.
No.
It does sometimes to me feel like a little bit of a loophole. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you are
a pedophile.
I was gonna say P word, but
sorry. Sorry.
So you know, we're not here to throw around words or accusations or anything like that.
No, it is just literally like, I guess, our relationship with this type of content and what we consume as like anime and manga fans, what we see, what we're reminded of consistently, because this is a huge prevalent subject in the world.
I just want to talk about two things, because there's a lot of defenses, and I think that, you know, a lot of times it doesn't feel like, you know, the lolicon community, when they're defending themselves, are all on the same page. Some people, I feel like,
it's a spectrum.
It's a spectrum. Yeah. Some will say one thing and then somebody else will say a completely different thing. Some defenses. And again, there's to the Kana point too. Like I, as a grown man, I think that Kana is an extremely cute character that I would love to, you know, have a peeker of, or love to have a shirt of, or love to have a poster of, or a figure of. But isn't necessarily a character that I would in any way like to see in any type of sexual situation.
Yeah.
So I, you know, defenses that I've heard are that, you know, number one, lolicons aren't attracted to and this has a point. This has a point that's going to tie back into everything. Number one, lolicons aren't attracted to real people, younger people. That they are only attracted to 2D fictional characters, right? The other defense also being that a lot of times in these situations, these younger fictional characters are oftentimes only younger and appear to be younger based on their physical appearance, but have the life experience of a 1,000-year-old demon lord, you know, but it's just a little girl with pointy ears and gigantic knockers. In the case of Dragon Maid, the one girl. A couple things for me, I just want to say that's never felt really sound to me. And you know, in wanting to, like, you know, talk about it and come at this the most rational, I guess, or you know, logical, I guess. You know, there have been people who have compared, you know, lolicons to furries, in saying that just because someone is a furry doesn't mean they want to, you know, do things to animals or with animals. They just are maybe attracted to these, you know, 2D humanoid animals, or people, humans in animal costumes. And again, you know, it's not to kink shame or fetish shame, but there is something very, to me, dangerous about about the lolicon thing in particular. And the only reason I bring up these points is because those are the two defenses that I hear personally most often. It's not that we're attracted to, as lolicons, real young people. It's that we're attracted to 2D, and even sometimes the 2D characters that we are attracted to might look like younger people, but they're actually not. They're actually ancient beings that just have the physical form of a younger person. However, tying it all back to the Miura thing, Miura, and again, this is a little nuanced too, and it's I think important to look at every angle of it. Miura released, when people talk about him defending lolicons, advocating for lolicons, and the right to be a lolicon, Miura wrote and illustrated a one-shot about the dangers of any society like banning the depiction of lolicons or lollies. I mean, and the reason that he did this is because at the time there was going to be a law passed, I believe in Japan, that was basically going to make it against the law to portray characters under a certain age. It was going to make it illegal to portray them in any sort of sexual situation. People I've seen online make the argument that I think is a sound argument, because when we're talking about free speech and storytelling, I do think that, again, there are situations where stories aren't going to be able to be told under these restrictions. For example, when you're comparing it to Miura, a lot of people have pointed to the fact that the reason Miura was advocating so hard for this law to not be passed is because if this law had been passed, which it never was, but if it had been, and if it had been passed before he wrote Berserk, then he wouldn't have been able to give Guts or show Guts go through and experience the trauma that he did as a young boy. That would not have been able to have been portrayed. That would not have been legal to have been published or made. That is some people's reason for why he advocated so hard for this thing. However, when you actually look at the one shot and when you actually read it, although there is, and this is again, there is no official translation for this thing. It is people on the internet doing their best to translate it themselves.
Or just, getting context clues or, from the pictures.
But you can get a lot from the pictures. Basically, what it seems to be and what the consensus online seems to be based on these loose translations, and again, context clues from these panels, is it depicts a lolicon. What would happen to a lolicon without his lollies? It seems to show that it shows this overweight guy who might fit that stereotype, not able to look at these things anymore. So he decides to go out of his apartment. He decides to leave his apartment, and he decides to start, looking at girls in the real world. There's even a panel that, Mehgan pointed out where, it's almost showing like these like circles, like these. Yeah,
it's like a war zone. You have all of these, like, I guess they have all, I think they have like lolicon on their back or something.
And they have the P word on their back.
Yeah, the P word. Okay. And then they're like running towards all these like lolicons, which we've seen them before. I think like Hachi Kijo, something from, oh gosh, what's that anime called?
Not important.
Not important. If you see, you'll know some of them based off of how they look. And it is they're swarming them and they're trying to fend them off. And then in the back of them, there's some more famous lolicons. And in the very back of them, the last resort, if they get through these two lolicon combat lines, then you see, real like shadows of girls like walking to school, or, just being in the back. So it is like showing if you take these away, then everyone is going, everyone that's a lolicon is like going to go and harass like girls. So
this one shot, again, it was like deciphering poneglyphs, trying to figure this thing out and trying to look everywhere online to get the truth, right? But it seems to contradict both of these points. Because it seems to say that without this 2D thing, that this 2D thing is a substitution. It is the only thing that is stopping people from acting on other things. It is satiating that sort of desire in them and allowing them to not have to act on it. Directly contradicting what I've heard a lot of people in the lolicon community say. So again, this being something that I just feel like if it really was about the guts thing, then the one shot would have looked and been completely different. Something completely different. However, it seems to be saying that it is, that it is, again, a substitution for the real thing, which... again, diving deeper into this and seeing, some of his other works, it is something that I had to confront, and it's something that was not easy to confront. It's something that I even, didn't really want to believe. I wanted to believe the people saying that it was about, more about the free speech and more about not being able to tell Guts' story. And however, the evidence and everything that I've seen proves contradictory to that. You can lump that in, but that doesn't seem to be the main point of it all. I just want to say that I also know that culture is a huge factor in all of this as well. That where we hail in the West, it is definitely not something that is acceptable. And it seems to be more acceptable, while maybe still not completely acceptable in other countries. But yeah, I mean, like, how did you feel yourself, Mehgan, personally discovering this one shot, or what were some of your other thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, when we had gotten off from the live, I was like really genuinely confused at why that person was saying what they were saying, because I hadn't heard of anything like this from Miura. You have other examples of mangaka that have done very questionable things in real life and have been, put in prison or sentenced or fined, and that to be true. So I wasn't really sure on what to think until, I read this today, and all of those, the feeling of I don't understand. And then reading this, I kind of was like, oh, and then that was kind of weird. And then immediately after I read this, I just looked up, some information, and the first thing to come up was this Kentaro Miura one shot, for the advocacy of not banning lolicon culture, or just in general lolicon
content stuff. Yeah.
Content. And I kind of read it and I was like, what? Genuinely it disturbs me. Seeing, you see it drawn, but seeing this depiction of this man, going to an elementary school and taking photos of girls disturbs me. It would disturb me if he was going to the gym and taking pictures of women. I mean, it's still disturbing. So it was just a very odd feeling. And everything that we've read so far, again, going into Berserk, I really didn't get that vibe at all. That's why I was so surprised. We did get that scene with Shirke, but it was really glimmering, and we got more scenes with Casca and other people that were way more intense and way more graphic, I guess. So it didn't really boggle my mind at all. And then when we read this and looking at his other work, which I don't know the name of, but I do believe it is, I'm not sure how many volumes it has, but it also has a character that is also of younger stature. And there is a panel of her getting out of this mud thing, and she's just, dripping in this like mud. And people are using these. I mean, again, this isn't something that we are piecing together ourselves. It is something that people have been asking questions about on the internet, and also people defending, why it's not true or why it is true. And we have no idea. We don't know Kentaro Miura. We cannot speak to what he did. We're not his friends. We just know of what we're being shown and what people are talking about. So it was just like a interesting development, I guess, with this whole thing. And it's based off of what I'm shown, it wouldn't just be like a word of mouth type. If it was a word of mouth type thing, then I really wouldn't. There would be no evidence.
You want to talk about what I want to talk about too is context, because I read Giganto Maxia, and I have been given the context, and it still feels odd to me and doesn't sit very well with me. It still makes me uncomfortable. I have not read this other one shot panel of the girl covered in mud, and the only reason I say that is because context I do think is important, because I didn't get a hint of this lolicon stuff in Berserk at all. People have, but I don't know if that they're seeing sort of these other things and then looking for it, but or found it upon their first read. I didn't people have pointed to Rosine. People have pointed to Shirke. I didn't really see anything, there was a moment with Shirke, but in the context of her character and in the context of what we had been given, it made sense for that. I think it was a moment where she was thinking fondly, thinking of Guts in a romantic, sexual kind of way. And I think in the context of that story, that made sense for her character to do. That made sense that a young girl who had been traveling with this guy that looks like Guts makes sense. And to the Rosine point, maybe you can show me a panel of the Rosine arc, and out of context, I would say oh my God, this guy was for sure a lolly. But then again, with context, it didn't come across that way. For me, it felt like I didn't see any of this or feel any of this in Berserk at all. Cut to Giganto Maxia, and it's glaring. It's glaring. And that is what feels really odd to me too, that it was, either a choice or, conveniently left out. And it doesn't exist exclusively in this a short story. It exists in other one-shots or other short stories that he's done. And this one-shot and, and this, one-shot advocating for this law to not be passed. It is something that has come up multiple times. And it's just so odd to me that it doesn't at least seem to me to be prevalent in Berserk at all. It doesn't seem to be anywhere in Berserk at all, which fascinates me that, this person would tell this story, a story that I, still consider to be one of the best stories I've read, period, outside of just manga. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful, traumatic, heartbreaking story, but it's a beautiful story that is drawn beautifully, that is written beautifully. I still, think very highly of Berserk, but it is just so crazy that I just imagine a director or something, and maybe they're I don't know, if you found out that George Lucas made Star Wars, and then he also made I don't know, I guess that analogy doesn't work because he'd be making some really weird movies. But yeah, just to find out that they're known for this one thing, and then to find out that that's Berserk was a huge story and his longest story and his life's work, but that you find out that almost everything else that they made outside of Berserk had this theme.
And that's also, I mean, it's also a prevalent, I mean, it's an ongoing thing with mangakas in general. I mean, most of them start off as like doujinshi artists. I think even there was controversy with the Dragon Maid artist. I think they were doujinshi artists too before they got Dragon Maid released. Correct me if I'm wrong. But people were kind of upset, and people were kind of, telling other people that, hey, he's made pretty much like CP, and he is, he or she did this before Dragon Maid. So it's just interesting that you see these characters that are, small and are, like you said, quote Josh, huge knockers.
Huge.
That are, acting like little kids.
Draw, doujinshi, or draw, fan art or your own Rule 34 art of your till the fucking cows come home. Draw. I mean, where's that?
They're working on it, Josh. I know you're looking it up every day.
Yeah, where is it?
They're working on it.
The anime's been out for a while now. Where is it? Because again, it's a slippery slope, because it is just, I think, something that, again, full transparency, and this is what I was talking to Mehgan about off mic, as somebody who is, a recovering addict, who has had issues with like alcohol in the past, I guess the definition of an addict is that you're addicted to something that is, I guess it doesn't always have to be harmful to you necessarily, but I think anything in excess can be harmful. Mm-hmm. I didn't, I don't know. I go back to that thing, and why I call it dangerous is because there are systems in place, like AA, and there are other, tools, or there are other things, systems in place for and things for me to go to, or for other addicts to go to heal, right? Mm. To try to overcome these things, and the answer isn't doing anything in substitution of it. It isn't drinking a 0% beer, or it isn't watching people drink. That isn't, I don't think, directly solving the problem. That isn't directly addressing the issue. Mm. That is sort of just putting a Band-Aid on it. And that's just dangerous to me too. I mean, we talk about it a lot, and I think as a society, maybe we have kind of, maybe it's hard to talk about, but maybe we kind of have, dropped the ball a little bit when it comes to creating, creating better ways to help people who are, I don't know if it's so tricky, right? Because it's when you are so it's like murder, right? When you it's almost like saying I don't know.
It's almost like saying there are people who really, really, really are into true crime and serial killers. That's like saying that they consume this and want to be killers themselves and want to be offenders themselves. The only reason that they haven't
killed anybody yet is because they get to just watch other people, get away with murder. But if those shows didn't exist, or those shows were made illegal, then those same people, and it's not a blanket statement, right? And it's not to be super, broad and say that if true crime shows got, were made illegal, then everybody who's ever watched true crime shows would become murderers. No. It's not to generalize.
This is just an example.
No. But I think it's a great example. But yeah, it's just hard, because, I mean, I do think that, my whole point in bringing that up was just that, if there are people who haven't acted on these things, but are, diving into this subgenre, as a way to calm those desires, then I don't think that person, I don't think that's a healthy outlet or thing for them to be doing. I think that they should be, working on overcoming that or figuring out like where that comes from. Because another interesting point that you made, and I had never really thought of this, but and again, it's not to generalize, it's not to put a blanket statement over everything, but that for some, and in terms of like the healing and to figure out where this comes from or why you feel this way, because you pointed out that there is a section of the community who also seems to have this attraction because they have a hatred of women.
Yeah.
For either being hurt by women, for feeling, not to, what's the term? What's the term when,
incel?
Yeah. Incel. Just sort of this like anti-women, like women suck because none of them want to fuck me kind of thing. They kind of turn to this, they turn to this fantasy because they think like, oh, well, this is somebody who,
I mean, it's like in fantasy, like this is not reality. It happens in reality.
No, for sure. Yeah.
On both ends. So that's why like it's kind of flawed with the logic of just in general I'm attracted to this instead of this, grooming, all of those things, thinking that if I like lollies because they like just accept me for who I am versus like a full grown woman character that will tell me what to do or how it is. I could tell them what to do and how it should be, I guess. And again, it's like not speaking for everyone, but it is like a type of thing that even, I'm going to bring up a tweet that I saw just regarding this, which is kind of like on the crazier end of the spectrum, pretty much saying, if you own any Berserk, anything at all, like you need to, sell it or not promote because Kentaro Miuras this, like, you're supporting a P word. And everyone in the comment section obviously is like pretty upset. I mean, we saw like the Giganto Berserk thing. People were very upset at that for just having fun, whatever. Not going to get into that here. But everyone was kind of defending Kentaro, which is like, if they didn't know the situation or they're hearing hurtful things about this man, obviously they're going to be defensive. But there was a renounding and astonishing amount of people that were saying, oh, if Kentaro Miura is a lolicon, I want to read Berserk even more now. Or, oh, I didn't know this. This makes him goated. Or, oh, great, lolicons rise up. And it's just this thing of this community that it's kind of, it is accepted in anime and manga. It wouldn't be accepted if you're just talking about, like, depending on what forums you're on fucking line. It wouldn't be acceptable to talk about little kids in any type of media, I guess, than this, because it is, handed to you on a silver plate because that's what they are, producing and promoting in Japan. And it's just like prevalent, and it is just something you can just tap into. And that's why it's like,
well, I want to say to that tweet, right? I do think that that's extreme in the case of Kentaro Miura. I think that that's an extreme sort of reaction to have, because again, the difference to me, the way that I can simplify it, is as far as anybody knows, as far as I know, Kentaro Miura never acted on any of these things, which is a very clear difference to me, which makes it a very clear difference between him and the mangaka for Rurouni Kenshin, who admitted and was proven guilty and confessed to being guilty of being a P word. That is to say that, I know how that mangaka, the mangaka of Rurouni Kenshin, I know how, he spent or is spending his money, and I would choose, I would like to choose to not reward that, or to not to give him money to spend on those things. Like I have the choice. We all have the choice. With our own money, how we choose to spend it or who we choose to give it to. And I choose to not give it to that person. I choose to not read Rurouni Kenshin. I choose to not separate the artist from the art from somebody who has been like convicted and confessed to being a horrible person who has done horrible things. Not to say that because that mangaka has since released statements. I don't know. I don't know people. I don't know what goes on in everybody's head. I don't know how sincere he is about growing and changing and not wanting to be that person anymore and not wanting to. I have a hard time believing that, but that's also not to say that people can't change. However, change or don't change, I hope you change, but whether you do or don't, I support your change, but I don't support you financially. I mean, and that's just kind of what it comes down to. For me, it's not a 1-for-1 comparison with Miura, because Miura didn't, to my knowledge, like didn't do anything. He definitely didn't get, convicted or didn't, confess to anything or didn't have to go to court to defend himself over anything like that. So for me, I think it is extreme to say that by supporting Berserk and by loving Berserk, that you are supporting a P word, because
you are a P word in turn.
And that you are a P word in turn. And I also think it's extreme to call Miura a P word. No one's calling Miura a P word. I mean, not here. Because again, there's a difference in definition. However, I am extremely uncomfortable. And do kind of look at the man a little differently. Not to say that not to say that we're gonna like disrespect his name. This is not meant to be disrespectful. It is meant to be a conversation about just like what this is, and based off of what we've seen, it is undeniable, I would say. It is a continuous theme to see little girls, showing themselves or being naked or having the body of a child. Like, this is just a thing that's been happening. And of course the one shot, like all of these things connected, it wouldn't be a conversation, or it wouldn't be anything if these weren't in place. If these weren't already a thing, right? And that's what I guess I'm saying is like, no disrespect. I mean, someone who's no longer with us, and so I don't think it's really I don't think it's really important to comment on his character, because he's not alive to defend himself. But in terms of Berserk, like I still consider Kentaro Miura to be a very talented writer and a very talented artist. I still consider him to be, I still consider Berserk to be one of the best stories I've ever read. I am more able to do that because of the difference between him and the mangaka of Rurouni Kenshin. But I still have the deluxe editions of Berserk. I do not plan on throwing them away. I do not plan on, not doing more Berserk videos in the future, not covering Berserk more, or a different type of Berserk video. I just think that, me personally, I do think that it's just that my idea of who Kentaro Miura was is a little different now. Yeah, I would agree. It is a little bit tweaked, and it wasn't something I expected, and it was kind of a thing that I really didn't think would ever happen, especially because, how much I do love Berserk and how much I really appreciated reading it, and his work in general. It was this type of thing that like opened my eyes to, again, like, I guess the culture of lolicons in general, that made me just really uncomfy, because I'm pretty much voiced my opinion on the lolicon community,
again, it is very defensive, and it is very, well, if you're calling me a P word, then you must be one. It's like, that's not what we're talking about, dude. Let's take away all of the shine and the glitter and the cutesy animation, the cute dances, the cute everything. Like, why are you watching this? What draws you to this? What draws you to, reading these doujinshi that have these explicit things about this child? Why are you watching this that does explicit? Like, it just all ties into what is actually going on. And it isn't just because they're cute if you're doing that. That's my opinion. Because I can Kana all day. I can like other characters that are childlike or anything else, because at the end of the day, I'm not watching them do these sexual acts. I like them because they're cute. Mm-hmm. It's different if you're just you like them because you're cute, but you're also watching them do some crazy stuff on the internet. I think it's extremely problematic. I think it's extremely dangerous, and I also want to say that it's not even a male thing necessarily, or it doesn't only exist. Well, no, there's like Shota for sure is huge, and again, that is also like, it could be for males, but it also could be for women. So it's not just prevalent on one side, but it seems to be teetering.
It seems to definitely teeter, but I mean, just to really quickly too, I mean, there are other, again, we just have to navigate our own moral compass however we choose to, and whatever we're comfortable with and whatever we're okay with when it comes to some of these things. There are definite lines in the sand when it comes to certain areas. Mm-hmm. But other areas you might need to draw that own line for yourself. And, very, very briefly, again, not to make this all, feel like, it's one-sided. I mean, we had a similar experience recently with a series from a creator that we both love, the creator of Fruits Baskets. Just recently there was is it technically a movie or is it an OVA?
It's an OVA. It's just pretty much showing the relationship between Kyoko and Toru's mom and dad. And I was hearing things before the OVA came out, the movie came out, and I was like, wow, that is really interesting, because I kind of learned, and people were kind of voicing it all over the place, saying like, I really do hope they change this. It is canon, but I do hope that this is different in the OVA or movie, because it is a bit weird. And I remember reading all this stuff and being like, wow, because there is like, a pretty big age gap. I guess what ages they are at the gap is what's important. Kyoko's pretty much in middle school, and Toru's dad is a teacher in training, and he's about like 22. So she's about 14, he's 22. And they meet at the school, and she's not having a good time with her life. She's very troubled teen, trying to, everyone's against me, the world's against me. In her case, yeah, she doesn't have the best family life. But all of these things sound like a great way to manipulate a young girl into falling in love with you, which kind of happens. And they paint it as this romantic story, because you think of Toru, you think of Fruits Basket, you think of all of the romance in this series. Like, you are looking at these characters thinking, wow, like they're really in love, they're really figuring this life out together. But when you take away everything, it is like, oh damn, he pretty much announces as they're talking more that he's like going to her parents' house. He's like, okay, I'm gonna bring a letter here, you're gonna sign it, and I'm gonna be married to your daughter, she's no longer your problem. And they're like, go ahead, take her, like, F her. And she really is like not having any say in the situation. She's kind of just like, were you serious about marrying me? Like, what? And he's like, yeah, of course, like, we're gonna get married, we're gonna live together, we're gonna have a wedding and all this stuff. And it's just like happening so quickly. And then eventually she becomes pregnant with Toru, and she has this visceral reaction like, I'm a child, I can't raise a child, like I don't know what to do if I turn out like my parents. She's just having not a good time. And he pretty much is like, no, well, like, you're going to have the kid. Like, you're going to have the kid, though. And he kind of like calms her down. He's like, you're going to be a great mom. And then, other things happen. I won't give away, I guess, the ending. But all of that, I mean, if you just hear that, and it is not in an anime, you would be like, huh?
Yeah.
In a real life setting, you'd be like, huh? What?
I think that, for me, and again, I think this is a better example because, again, this mangaka, this creator, hasn't acted on anything in real life. This is all fiction. These are all things that they've chosen to write about. However, the issue for me comes from romanticizing these things. You can say that something is fiction all day long and use that as a defense. However, it still could also be romanticizing this thing that should not be romanticized. Fiction or not, animated or not, I don't believe that people, aren't affected by media. I do think that people are affected a lot by media.
Especially if they don't have obviously mentally ill people that don't have like a good grasp on like reality, because they kind of dive into these other media to get that sense of reality. So seeing something like this, especially, I mean, if I was a 14-year-old girl watching this, I'd be like, okay, maybe that is okay.
Well, yeah, and like you said, with the music and with the sparkles,
exactly.
It's telling you that it's okay.
Exactly. Because you're like, oh, these are Toru's parents. Like, of course they love each other.
And I'm affected by media, dude. I'll be the first to say it. I'm affected by media and what I watch. I used to, tell a joke when I did do stand-up about how I believe that no matter how many people say they're not affected by media, they are. And I am, because I remember the first time I went to go see a Fast and the Furious movie. I drove home from the theater backwards. I didn't really, but it's just a way to say that. Oh,
that was a joke.
Okay. The point is.
Okay.
Whatever. The point is, I definitely drove home a little faster that day. I definitely.
Yeah, you were furious.
I was furious. And that's like a smaller, more innocent example of that. But yeah, I mean, I am affected by media. People are affected by media, and I just think it's dangerous romanticizing those things. And why I think it's a more fair comparison is because, again, I'm not gonna burn my Fruits Baskets manga, or I'm not gonna be that dramatic or tell people to boycott Fruits Basket. I will tell people that you probably shouldn't and don't need to watch the OVA. But I still think that Fruits Basket is a good story. I think it's a beautiful story. I still think Berserk is a good story, a beautiful story. I'm not telling anybody to burn anything. I'm not telling anybody to throw anything in the trash. I'm not telling anybody how to live or what choices to make or how to spend your money or
how to think. I mean, pretty much like this isn't a I guess, what would you call it? Like, this isn't a sit down where we're like looking straight at you and being like, you need to make a decision on your own life. No, it's just like informative conversation based off of like the events that have occurred over this journey of reading this work. And honestly, overall, the lolly culture, which we've not hinted, but we've talked about before, but I don't think on this large of a scale, which is, what I'd like to talk about, because it is super prevalent. It is a given when I go to any anime convention. I will see half of, the lineup of body pillows will be younger girls that are up there. Or it is cool to say, oh yeah, I'm this. And again, it is not putting everyone in the same box, because you could be like, oh, I like a lolicon and I just like little girl characters. Okay, that's cool, but it takes another toll, or it takes another route if you are watching these so-called characters and interact in sexual situations. I think that's where I can draw the line in the sand. You can like that all day, but if you are telling people that you're just doing this because of this, but then you're actually doing something else, then you're hiding that. Then you're hiding something, which is like the clear indication of, then why are you hiding it if you think it's okay?
Yeah. All that to say, I mean, I've pretty much said everything I have to say. That I'm okay with ending the conversation here. I know that
2 more hours.
Yeah,
no,
2 more hours.
Kidding.
I know that there are going to be things that maybe some people didn't want to hear, or maybe some things that people maybe took the wrong way, or
definitely
misunderstood. or we'll have like, very visceral reactions to. But either way, like I said, it would have been way more disingenuous for us to come on here and have these feelings and look into these things and not talk about them than to talk about them. I'm sorry if it's not the most interesting conversation to you. But if it is in any way, or if you do have anything to add or to say or would like to comment on, then you can definitely comment, leave a comment in the comments below, and kind of, just politely and logically and calmly, kind of like give your thoughts and your take and
yeah, definitely. This is like, we want this to be, we've always wanted this channel to be kind of like an open dialogue. Not all of our thoughts and not all of what we're saying is like complete facts, always true, 100%. You cannot tell us anything. We're not wrong. And that goes for every video that we do. So opening up that dialogue in the comment section of explanation, or going into further details of situations or opinions, that's always like warranted.
Yeah.
And we enjoy that too, because again, we're not always 100% always correct. This is just, again, our opinion, and we're able to share it through what we read and putting everything kind of piecing things together based off of like what we have seen.
To sum it up, I still love Berserk, but Giganto Maxia, not for me.
No.
Not for me. But that's going to do it for our discussion on the short series. Again, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. This is a longer episode. We were planning on having a little section where we discussed sort of like some of our future plans on the channel. We'll have to like power through them very quickly so we don't take up too much more of your time. But basically, if everything has gone according to plan, then you will have already seen on last Monday, you will have already seen us do a Volume 1 live. We are going to be doing a more in-depth video on our Patreon, just about more of our logic behind some of the things, or some of the reasons why we decided to do things the way that we did. But basically what we've decided to do is to do every Volume 1 that we do will now be live. We tried that in the past, but we didn't have the kinks quite worked out. There were some things that we didn't anticipate, so it kind of discouraged us, and we kind of went back to doing things the way that that we always have. However, I think that we've really come up with a way better way of accomplishing what we were trying to accomplish the first time and doing what we were trying to do the first time. So every Volume 1 for the foreseeable future will be live. They will not be every week. They will be every other week. And then on the off weeks, you will have one of these pre-recorded episodes. On top of that, the only extra thing that we're really adding is going to be the Volume 1 Community Live. That's going to be either every Wednesday or every other Wednesday. And like I said in the beginning of the episode, that is just going to be a show. Again, if you've been following this channel for a long time, I used to go live by myself. I did it, consistently, I think for, a couple months, maybe 2 months, where I was trying to go live, once a week to cover more anime, manga news or anything that was like related in that space. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed talking about those things. And I really enjoyed talking to you. I really enjoyed talking to the listeners, the viewers, hearing your voice or seeing you respond to something in real time in the chat. Because we've grown and we've done things in previous videos, like if we talk about our figure collection, we'll have people post in our Discord their figure collection, or with our tier list most recently, people will post their tier list. It's all kind of been building towards being able to do this community live, which is basically going to be a show that we all make together. I just want to be able to have a space where, you guys can call in more often, talk to us. Mehgan, for the most part, I think right now will probably be in most of them, be a part of most of them. There might be times where it's just me, but that's just, again, to not, overwork or, burn anybody out. But yeah, we love talking to you guys, and we want to create this space to talk to you guys every week or every other week, and to have a show where in this specific tab, our community live tab in our Discord, which there will be a link to in the description below, where you can kind of like send your own articles or your own stories, or like there's news constantly breaking, things constantly happening, and I really enjoy talking about those things. And so that I think is going to be a lot of fun, and that is something that I'm really, 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 really excited about. So hopefully it sounds interesting to you, it sounds exciting to you, it sounds fun to you. But the first one is going to be June 15th at 1:30 p.m. PST. Did I say, what day did I say? June 15th.
June 15th, which is a Wednesday.
Which is a Wednesday. So look forward to that. And I think that's the gist, right? Of sort of the things that we're going to be changing. Quickly too, the only other reason that we're doing it this way is, accidentally kind of, it's also going to give us a lot more time to read other series. So we'll be able to cover, in these pre-recorded episodes, we'll be able to cover longer series or more of a series instead of having to cram it all that week on top of One Piece, which we're still going to be doing every week. So there's a method to the madness. Yes,
and we still will be going live on Kumu every Thursday. For the foreseeable future, we'll keep you guys updated on that, but pretty much every Thursday. And they do sometimes not make it on the main channel. So if you see one that interests you or one that you would want to stop by for, I would check it out, because sometimes it is just on Kumu. Sometimes we do not post them back to our OG channel. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, stay tuned for all that and more. Before we go, though, we do have to shout out and we do have to thank. Speaking of, giving people money, we have to shout out and we have to thank our wonderful, beautiful, amazing Patreon members. Thank every single one of you for your support. It means the world to us that you choose to do that of your own volition.
Yeah.
Again, it's because of you that we're able to do the things that we do at the level that we do them.
Truly.
We wouldn't be able to do it without you. And we definitely wouldn't be able to do it at this level. Not only does it give us financial freedom, but it also just like gives us energy. It energizes us. It gives us, it's just, it fires us up.
Yeah, we're allowed to put way more into the show, like the cosplays, the production, all of these things to make everything run smoothly. It's all because of you guys.
Yeah, and because of the growth there too, and that growth that has only been possible again because of you guys, and our growth here that's only been possible because of you guys. You're going to we've gotten to a place where we have financial freedom, but hopefully in the very near future we'll grow to a place where we'll be able to grow our team and be able to be able to afford to do that. And your part in that is so monumental, and your part in this show is so monumental. So thank you again from the bottom of our hearts for that. If you would like to become a Patreon member, and if you would like to gain early access to all of our content, as well as access to our exclusive bonus Patreon podcast, Volume 1 Extra, where we do all kinds of things. We talk about all kinds of things. Like I said, we're going to be going more in depth with our logic as to why we're making some of the changes we're making. We play games. We talk about movies. We do movie reviews, like blockbuster movie review. We do it all over there. If you would like to gain access to that exclusive podcast or early access to all of our videos, all you have to do to become a Patreon member is go to patreon.com/volume1pod, or you can become a YouTube member and get access to all the same things by clicking join on this video. But if you are not in a place right now where you can give financially, please, please, please do not worry at all. There are so many other things that you can do to help us out equally, that we appreciate equally, and Mehgan will tell you what those things are now.
Yes, if you are out of nectar.
Okay.
you can join the algorithm gang, and it is completely free. All you have to do is comment on any one of our videos, like any one of our videos, share any one of our videos, or subscribe to the channel, and it acts as a free tip to us, and it helps the algorithm do its thing, do it better than before, and it spreads our videos far and wide. So it really does help us out immensely. If you have no money to spare, don't even worry about it. You can do this all for free. You can leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere else you listen to the podcast, and that helps us out a lot as well. And you can put any amount of stars, but if you put 5, you're a baller. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, sharing, reviews, comments, view duration, watching this all the way to the very end, all of it matters. All of it helps a lot. So if you've been doing that, or are going to do that, thank you very much. But that is going to do it for another episode of Volume 1. The only thing we have left to do now is to get out of here on our outro that is always the same and never changes, which today, Megan, is...
What do you
don't
think?
Drink the nectar.
That was too on the nose.
Okay.
Wrestle.
Okay. Wrestle what? Just wrestle?
Wrestle up.
Shooty.
Beetle juice.
I guess.
Beetle.
Oh, well, yeah, because, juice, nectar. Yeah. You say Beetlejuice. You want to say it 3 times?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if we say it 3 times.
He seems super fun to kick it with.
Right.
He does. He does.
Michael Keaton. Okay.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time,
Beetlejuice.
Don't drink the nectar.
Don't drink the juice.
Don't drink the juice.
Don't drink the juice.